Yo, now that's what I'm talking about. Hey everyone, this week I'll be teaching you all how to make Stromboli. This is a delicious and hearty Italian-American dish that you'll definitely want to try to make. I've been trying to improve my bread knowledge, and this YouTuber named Chainbaker definitely helped me out a lot, and this is actually his recipe, but I adjusted it a little bit since I didn't have bread flour. So let's get started. We're going to start with our pre-ferment, which you should make the night before you decide to make your Stromboli. Here I have 70 grams of all-purpose flour with a pinch of vital wheat gluten, or just 70 grams of bread flour. To that, we're going to add 40 grams of water, and a pinch of yeast as well. We don't want to add too much though. A little bit like this should be okay. Now we're going to begin mixing all the ingredients together until it forms into a shaggy dough. It will take a bit of time as it is a bit dry, but keep on mixing. So let me explain what the pre-ferment does while I continue mixing. Oh, before I forget, you can always do this by hand and not with a spatula as well. So we make the pre-ferment the night before because we're going to ferment a portion of our dough overnight, which basically allows for extra flavor development. That is because the yeast will slowly eat through the flour and create flavor slowly, which is why we also want to add a small amount so it doesn't over-ferment. The longer you do it, the more of a sourish taste you may get. It's similar to sourdough, but not really the same. It definitely adds more complexity to your bread though. There are different types of pre-ferments, and this one we're doing is called a Biga, which is, I think, Italian in origin. So you can see right here, most of the dry flour has been gathered up by the dough, and it seems mostly smooth by now. Place it back in the bowl, and we're going to cover it up and let it ferment overnight for around 12 hours, I would say. I say it's going to double around in size by the next day. 12 hours later, here's my pre-ferment, and it should definitely have a strong yeast smell, which is a good thing because it's definitely fermented, that means. We're going to scrape it up, and as you can see, it's definitely super stretchy, has that strong yeast smell, which is a great thing. Here I have 175 grams of water. We're going to mix in 4 grams of yeast, 7 grams of salt, 20 grams of olive oil. Mix everything thoroughly together to incorporate everything. We're going to add in our pre-ferment. So to this, we're going to add in 294 grams of all-purpose flour and 6 grams of vital wheat gluten. Also remember, you can just replace this with just 300 grams of bread flour as well. I will be mixing this with my stand mixer as I injured my wrist, and this dough should be similar to the milk bread dough. So if you want to see how to knead it by hand, watch the milk bread video. I'll leave a link in the description and the top right as well. You want to knead the dough 6 to 7 minutes by hand, while I use around 5 minutes with the stand mixer. The way to tell if the dough is ready is through the window pane test. I'll show it again as you basically grab a piece of dough, stretch it a bit, and get it as thin as possible until you can pretty much almost see your fingers through it. Once you knead it enough, start to form your stretchy dough into a ball, and we will let this ferment for 45 minutes to 1 hour, I say, until it almost doubled in size. Make sure to cover it with plastic wrap as well to avoid the dough drying out. After the 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to fold the dough. This will help create extra gluten. Dust the top with a little bit of extra flour, and I use a spatula to help it get it out of the bowl. We're going to start folding it next. This is very similar to the milk bread dough. You fold the side towards the middle and keep rotating until you did every side. Flip it over and start tucking the dough underneath itself to tighten it, and it also helps seal up the seams as well. You can also pinch the seams like I do right here to help that as well, and then place it back in the bowl, and we're going to let it ferment again for another 45 minutes to an hour. Once the proofing time has been done, your dough should have definitely puffed up a lot compared to its original size. Let's start rolling it up now by first dusting at the top with flour and placing it on a clean working surface. Dust the seam side with some flour, and then we're going to start pressing it down into a general rectangular shape, I would say, before we finish it off with our rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, it's okay. I think you could stretch it by hand. I just happen to have one already, so I used what I had. We want to roll this dough into a rectangle shape with around 1/8 of an inch thickness. Obviously you don't gotta measure it, this is more by feel, but get it thin enough where you can get to the point where it won't tear if you pull it. As you can see, I ain't a pizza master, so I'm not the best at it, but it's good enough in my eyes. Brush the surface with some egg wash, which is basically just a beaten egg with a teaspoon of milk. We will now stuff our stromboli with our meats and cheese. I followed Chainbaker's recipe and I just used what he did, which is 1/2 pound of pepperoni and 1/2 pound of salami. Cover the meats throughout the dough and leave just a bit of space at top for later. Now we're going to cover it with a bunch of mozzarella as well. I think this is around 1/2 pound. I don't really remember because I just grated a lot. Finish by grating it with some Parmesan Reggiano and then you're good to go. Alright, time to actually fold this bad boy. Take the left and right side and fold it over itself ever so slightly. Now we're going to take the bottom and tuck it underneath itself and start rolling this up like a log. Take your time because it is a little difficult to work with. If you take your time though, it should be definitely possible, so no worries. Even I can do it, and I don't think I'm an expert or anything like that. Once we get to the top, we want to take that small space we left in the beginning and stretch it over to seal up the log. Remember to pinch the seams to seal this shut. Alright, time to place it seam side down for its final proof for 1.5 hours. During the last 15 minutes, I like to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. While we wait for our stromboli to finish its proof, let's make a simple spicy marinara sauce by first mincing up 6 cloves of garlic. It's pretty much similar to all the tomato sauces, so you should know the drill by now. So first fill a pot with some olive oil, and then start sauteing your garlic. To make this spicy, we're going to add a little bit of Calabrian chili paste, and I actually found out Trader Joe's sells a version that's pretty cheap and readily available if you have any Trader Joe's by you. I'm going to put in around 2 tablespoons, and that should be plenty. We're going to stir it around a bit and let it cook before adding in our 1 can of canned tomatoes. Once we add our tomatoes, we're going to give it a good stir so nothing is burnt on the bottom before bringing this up to a simmer. When this is up to a simmer, we're going to let it simmer for another 30 minutes until it gets thickened. As you can see, the stromboli is puffed up in the 1 hour and 30 minutes proofing time. We want to brush it with an egg wash so when we bake it, it's going to have a nice golden crust. Top it off with some sesame seeds and shape some Parmigiano Reggiano. Make sure to press it down with your hands to make sure it sticks and then pop it in the oven for 50 minutes to an hour or at an internal temperature of 190 degrees Fahrenheit. There you have it, some stromboli. I know this takes a little bit of effort, but trust me, it's worth it. Man, I had this for dinner, it was banging. So I served this up with some sauce, and it definitely goes well because it's pretty much just a pizza but rolled up, and it goes very well with that spicy marinara sauce we made earlier. Hope y'all give this a try and let me know how you think. Hey, thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more random food content down the line, and follow me on Instagram at Weekend Cooks. Take it easy.